So, good afternoon, my fellow human beings. Thank you very much for being here with me. First of all, I want to excuse myself for my voice, but I've been sick for the last 2 days and I didn't have a voice. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to read everything. So I'll keep on reading the Break the Cycle. It's the lesson 1.12, exercise interview one of your personality subselves from Peter Dialog. And this is the point of reading all the lessons is to become a sovereign individual, a sovereign, access our sovereignty, emotional, creatively, intellectual, and spiritual, to arrive to the secret union of the masculine energy and the feminine energy. Okay, so it goes. Skipping the first 3-4 paragraphs. Okay. To explore where the talented subselves do govern your personality and behavior, adopt an open mind. I'm not sure whether subselves exist or not. I will learn more before deciding, and review these everyday symptoms. Then experience a safe inner dialogue between your true self and capital S and one or more subselves. Well, you have to be aware of the traits. Okay, that's lesson 1.7. And you really need to put your thinking caps on and analyze them and know yourself, okay? And remember, practice is the key, okay? This article offers guidelines on how to have such a dialogue. I suggest you read this whole article before trying to arrive to an inner conversation. Note that personality parts and subselves mean the same thing. Prepare. An essential first step to adopt an attitude of non-judgmental curiosity. If you try an inner dialogue assuming this can't work or I can't do this, you will probably get what you expect. Yes, of course. You need to align your thoughts, feelings, emotions and actions to arrive to the point that you want, okay? And your thoughts need to be positive and pure, okay? So don't see your issues as problems, but as challenges that you are able to overcome, okay? Choose a mindset like I don't know what will happen, let me try this experience and find out. Difficulty adopting a neutral attitude probably means you are ruling subselves are afraid of something. Pick a trait. Well, I want to add that when I was a kid, my favorite childhood story was the John Without Fear, and that was my favorite childhood fairy tale. Okay. Someone is mowing the lawn. I'm sorry if you hear that on the background. Pick a time and physical setting where you won't be distracted for 10-15 minutes. Get comfortable and identify several qualities or traits that contribute to your unique personality. For example, you might think, I'm well organized, impatient, practical, spiritual, honest, usually optimistic, a hard worker, cautious, sociable, analytic, intuitive, creative, artistic, forgetful, nurturing, caring, or competitive. Be aware that sometimes people call you these things, but they have a subself or false self leading their personality. It's not really accurate, okay? Try out the idea that each personality that is caused by a talented subself who specializes is that ability or quality like a player in an orchestra or sports team. To expand your awareness, take a few minutes and study this list of common subselves. Each person has a unique mix of some of these subselves, not at all of them. Note that one group of subselves is innate children. They are very reactive and specialize in bringing new primary emotions like curiosity, away, anxiety, silliness, sadness, rage, guilt, love, fear, confusion, loneliness, and shame. If you are curious about your subselves, read this and return here. Something you already read previously. Okay? Now imagine choosing one of these subselves to interview. Like meeting a distant relative for the first time, pick a natural or helpful subself, not one which causes you significant problems. Pause and reflect. How do you usually behave when you meet someone for the first time? Meeting a subself is just the same. Have you ever been in a class, team, committee, or group which had a really effective leader? Recall why you felt she was effective. Now try out the idea that one of your subselves is naturally talented, motivated, wise, group leader. A premise is that every adult and child has such a skilled subself that true self, capital S, is the inner dialogue exercise. Yourself will interview another of your subselves. If you are curious about yourself, read this and return. Another premise is that subselves communicate with us and each other all the time. For perspective on taking with a subself, review this and return. Questions to ask. Before your inner interview, clarify what you want to learn about this subself. Here are some useful questions. Keep in mind that each subself has its own unique values, goals, attitudes, and perceptions. This may differ a little or a lot from your self's view of the world. Is there a name you would like to be called? Some parts feel very strongly about this and others are indifferent. How old are you? Each subself has its own development age, which often differs from the age of your body. Where do you live? Some subselves may believe they are living in one of the past dualities. For now, just accept that. Who do you live with? Subselves may live with people you know or knew, animals, strangers, or no one. Do you know who your true self, is? M. Some subselves don't know your true self exists, or they do but aren't clear what the self's leadership role in your inner family personality. What year it is? It's common for your guardian subselves to believe it's some year in your past. Trust the first thing that comes in your mind. If you get some past year, postpone trying to teach them the truth in this first dialogue. Just learn. What is your job? What do you do? Every subself has a main function or role, which they may or may not be able to articulate. How do you like your job? Be open to any answer. What would happen if you stopped doing your job? Typical subselves feel some catastrophe will occur to you, including social rejection, poverty, injury, loss, or death. If so, don't dispute that and reassure them for now. Yeah, you have to use the feminine and the masculine energy to ensure them that nothing will happen, okay? Is there anything or anyone that makes your job especially fun or especially hard? Do you know you are part of a family or team of subselves? Some subselves believe that they are all alone. Others know vaguely or clearly, or some other subselves don't feel included among them. A long range of goal is to have all your subselves appreciate each other as a group of specialists with a common purpose. Yes. What I would suggest is that make a list of your subselves and give each subself a positive activity where they can grab your IQ, okay, and excel. So try many activities as possible, like the playful child, the curiosity, the hurtful child is managed to overcome the issues by learning. So you have to learn the skill that each subself needs to excel on the issue. Okay, that's my take. Okay. What causes you to appear? Often the answer is some trauma or stressful period in your childhood. Be open to anything. So, a thought, a stream, a memory, an image, or something else. Avoid pressure. What I do is that imagine that you have a dispute, okay? And of course you didn't answer properly at that time because you didn't have the tools in order to have the most intelligent answer at that time, okay? But what you can do now that you are healing and knowing that it's actually not it is the responsibility of your parents to have their best behavior. However, due to the conditioning and addiction of the society, they did the best they could, okay? And even though the best they could is a very low quality, okay? So you have to accept the status quo, okay? You have to accept the past. However, you can change the present and then have a better future. What you're going to do is to take issue by issue, problem by problem, and have an alternative ending to the story. So if that and that happened to me right now, how would I react with the knowledge I have now? So I would do this lesson, lesson 1.12, in the beginning of this exercise, and at the end or every time you need to review. What I do is that, for example, my mother is she's very rude, okay? And she's very rude. And in my family, unfortunately, I have to say she's not emotionally or intellectually smart. And for that reason, in order to impose her will, she screams, insults, and is physically aggressive, okay? Because everybody is leaving her, so she lives alone with my father. Nobody lives with them. I left, and my oldest child, my oldest daughter, also left. She feels abandoned, okay? Even though she has to recognize that she's an adult and it's time to go, okay? And she uses this guilt trip of abandonment, okay? And obviously she has a false self leading her, okay? So because she's not able with arguments, using sense of humor, intelligence, or arguments, okay, and she does not make an effort, she does not try harder in order to talk to you in a eye-to-eye intellectual level. She insults, ridiculize, humiliates, is physically aggressive, okay? Now, in my family, my father is very intelligent, I am very intelligent, and both my daughters are very intelligent, okay? So emotionally and intellectually, and also my father, okay? So what happens is that she's realizing that she does not belong to the train, okay? Because my mother, there is a character in The Office, I believe, or Mad Men, that she relied very much. I will leave the link down below. She relied very much on her beauty to sustain a marriage, and she was very cold to the children, and then she got cancer at the end, and it's that's my mother. That's my mother. Okay, my mother, she's resentful because she didn't study, okay, and she's resentful because she's at home and nobody gives her value. But she fails to recognize that it's her responsibility to develop her personality. So my mother has been, since I can recall, and still now, obsessed with her appearance, okay, and with the size of her stomach or her belly. So, and she's very proud that all the clothes since she's 18 fit her. However, even though there's something to be very proud of, along of that's the only thing you haven't achieved in 6 decades. Okay, so I'm extremely. I ask myself, how come you are able to? Don't you have anger to do things, to create? Okay, so when I look back, I see that she has pleasure destroying. She has pleasure to, when you want something. I remember, like, when I went there for 5 years ago, I believe, the last time my mother spanked me, I was 12, okay? I did a lot of sports, and when I was 12 years old, I waited for the point that I was physically stronger, and she beat me and I spanked her, okay? And from that point on, she never hit me again because she knew I was stronger. So what she did, she manipulated my father to spank me. And she did that once, and I told my father, you are being manipulated by my mother. And he never spanked me again. And because she cannot manipulate my father, and what she did 5 years ago was that I have a very beautiful watch that I bought a long time ago, more than 10 years ago. And the watch was on the commode, on the schrank, on the board that you put in front of the bed. And what she did, she took the watch and put it on the space, and threw it on the space between the wall and the commode. So she couldn't hurt me physically. She couldn't hurt my father. She could manipulate my father to hurt me. Okay. What she did, she took the object and tried to destroy it. Okay. and what I did, I didn't pick a fight. I stopped visiting them. Okay, and what she did was that she tried to manipulate. Then my oldest daughter, she's also exhausted because she's in a situation in her life that she's not happy because she's not blossoming. Okay, I'm not going to go into that, but she's in the triangle of the victim, prosecutor, perpetrator. So she's entering a life that she doesn't know what she's. There are people in her life, that, including my parents and her boyfriend, they're telling her to do something that she actually doesn't want to do. So I want to see how she's going to manage to get out of that situation. Okay, so and because my oldest daughter, she is emotionally weak, what my mother tried to do is to manipulate the oldest daughter, and she did successful, to influence, to tell her that I have abandoned the whole family, when my oldest daughter, she's now 22 and my mother is almost 70. Okay, so they have to realize that the abandoned theory does not work anymore because they are adults. Okay, and then what they did is that they tried to brainwash my youngest daughter, saying that I'm a bad mother. And my daughter, and in my home, we have a sacred home. We have a sacred space where our both integrity is respected. Okay, it's basically a meditation and good vibes energy. Okay, and I have fought very much of my life to have this sacred space, and this is what it's part of my logos. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to get out. Okay, so going back to the reading, here it is. It's common for young and guardian subselves to believe it's some year in your past. Trust the first thing it comes to your mind. If you get some past year, postpone it, trying to get them the truth in the first dialogue. Just learn. What's your job and what do you do? Every subself has a main function role, which they may or may not be able to articulate. How do you like your job? Be open to any answer. What would it happen if you stopped doing your job? Typical subselves feel the catastrophe will occur to you, including social rejection, poverty, injury, loss, or death. If so, don't dispute that and reassure them for now. Okay, I was there. Explain that. The best thing you can do is to go to each subself and teach them the tools that they need to be successful on the dwelling that subself was created for. Okay, so if a subself likes to dance, go to dance classes. If a subself likes to argumentate and is argumentative, teach them then argumentative skills. If a subself likes to analyze, teach them analyzing skills. If a subself likes to sing, go to singing classes. You don't have to do everything by once, but you do everything by decade. Okay, there was yes, that's my strategy. So what I did was that I moved out of Germany and I experienced many other cultures, many other ways of living, many other perspectives, how to enjoy music, going to concerts, going to literature readings, philosophy, watching a lot of YouTube videos now about professors explaining lectures, professors that come from Harvard, Oxford, or the crème de la crème. So you go to every subself and you give them the tools to shine, because every subself wants to shine. Okay, so what I believe is that the more you are as strong as the weakest link. So if every subself is strong, they will trust the leader of the personality, and they will pick up each subself to be an advisor. That's my take, and that's the strategy I took. So with your personality, with you will do your your strategy. Don't forget, in every sub-self, you need to get out of the victim, prosecutor, perpetrator triangle, okay? And to clean all the addictions and all the conditioning, okay? Is there anything or anyone that makes your job especially fun, especially hard? Do you know you are part of a family or a team of sub-selves? Some sub-selves believe that they are all alone. Others know vaguely or clearly of some other sub-selves, but they don't feel included among them. A long-range goal is to have your sub-selves appreciate each other as a group of specialists with a common purpose. What caused you to appear? Often the answer is some trauma or stressful period in your childhood. Be open to anything, a thought, stream, a memory, an image, or something else. Avoid pre-assuming, that's very important. How do you feel about me asking you these questions? Expect an answer, raging I don't know, to I don't care, to I've waited so long to talk to somebody. Do you know anything in particular? Well, I also would suggest some subselves may never have thought about this, others may not want to disclose it. Is that I think, or I believe that, or I feel that each subself has to have fun, enjoyment on their tasks. So the overanalyzer or the overcritical has to reach the point. I'm enjoying to criticize from the heart chakra, okay, and analyzing until to a certain point, okay. Is there if you're interviewing a young sub-self, you can do you know where your mom or dad is right now? It's common for sub-selves to have a distorted answer. Is there any chance you really like? You get an answer, affirm it, and ask the question again. Would you be willing to talk to me again? When sub-selves believe such dialogues are safe, they usually say yes. Note the respectful theme of these questions and ask any others that occur you. Keep the questions simple. For example, one sentence or less, without explanations. What to expect. Before your interview, prepare for any of these common outcomes. The sub-self you choose is willing to respond, give you thoughts, senses, and or images without conditions or interference from another sub-self. This is the best case. Your sub-self will talk, but sets conditions. Okay, I'm not going to talk about this. If it happens, honor the conditions for them. A main objective here is for your sub-self to be heard, respected, and safe. Your mind goes blank when you try to focus on your chosen sub-self. This usually indicates a protective sub-self doesn't trust this alien new experience and is blocking it. If this happens, breathe well, blocker or numbers, sub-selves, and often inhibit normal breathing to minimize scary emotions. If this happens, shift your focus to interviewing your protective blocker, sub-self, without judgment. Is there someone who doesn't want to talk to me? 2. The sub-self you choose. If the blocker will talk, ask her or him respectfully to describe what he or she thinks or feels happen if you had the original dialogue. Your goal here is to listen and learn, not to argue, debate, demand, or persuade. Another possible inner dialogue experience you may have this. 4. You keep thinking about other things, can't concentrate. As you try to interview yourself, this may indicate that your sub-selves are activated by what they think you are doing and they're all talking at once. Options. Ask them to get quiet and speak once at a time. Ask each sub-self to identify itself by name, age, and image, and to say what he or she needs, thinks, and feels. Just listen empathetically for now. Make no promises, explanations, or requests. Then, if it feels right, you may ask them to be quiet so you can conduct the original interview. Either way, you experience communicating with your sub-selves. 5. With all these outcomes, you may experience subtle, obvious physical reactions like shifts in your heart, breathing, skin temperature, and muscle twinges or tensions. Well, this is the electricity in your body, so be aware of those, okay? That's very important. You will be okay. You will be all clean when you don't feel any of these muscles contracting because your body is talking to you, okay? If so, it may or may not be caused by the sub-self you're interviewing or another sub-self who is listening in. Option: ask that subself or if he or she is causing the physical reactions, or if she knows which other subself is. In such reactions become too distracting, end the interview respectfully. A future option is to focus on the subself causing your body reaction and ask, what is she trying to communicate? Stay aware of all subselves are trying to help you on their unique way. See this for more perspective. The dialogue with the subself. Pick a safe meeting place. When you're really ready, notice what time it is, get physically comfortable and close your eyes. Vividly imagine being in a comfortable, safe, distraction-free meeting place indoors or in nature. It may be a place you have actually been or imagining. If the latter, yourself is doing the imagining. If you choose nature-seeking, considering mountaintop, a forest clearing, a peaceful beach, a quiet lake or river, a beautiful canyon, and other serene setting. Avoid any place that has a human activity or noise. Whatever place you choose, take a moment to look around. Notice quality and sources of light. The temperature, any aromas, or any soothing background sounds like a fountain. Calm waves, gentle breeze, or quiet music. Notice the floor or ground and decide if you want to sit, recline, or stand. If you specially place in indoors, enjoy choosing the furniture, colors, decorations, and amenities, but no TV or PC. If there are windows or skylights, notice what you see through each of them. Whatever meeting place you choose, know that this is your own sacred space or refuge. No one else can intrude here unless you invite them. Enjoy realizing you can come here any time of this day and night to get calm, quiet, grounded, and reflexive. You may choose to invite your higher power, here to welcome and guide you to any subselves you invite. Or if you are lucky like I am, your higher power is always with you. They will always tell you what you need to hear, even when it's cruel. As you design your meeting place, take a few moments to be there. Breathe easily and from your belly let the concerns of the day reset without anxiety or guilt. Be still. Inner imagining. Verify that you can form inner image by picturing your partner, favorite child, special friend, or cartoon figure. Focus on the subself you want to interview and ask if he or she will give you an inner image. Be open to the first things that appears, even if it makes no sense. Images can be of a real imaginary person or memory or fantasy, an animal or cartoon figure, an abstract shape or color, or an object. If you don't get a stable image, that's okay. Focus on a memory that highlights the personality trait you have chosen. Remember how it felt to be that trait. Ask the image of the feeling. For example, think, are you willing to talk to me for a few minutes? Trust the first thing that occurs, without judgment, thought, image, sense, or feeling. If you have an image of the subself, notice that if it changes. For example, if the image of a person or animal, whether it looks at you or yourself or not. If you sense a yes response, explain what you are doing, just as you would with a physical person. That might sound okay. I would like to learn about you, so I would like to ask you a few questions. Is that okay? Notice the first thoughts or feelings that happen and react accordingly. If it is okay, then ask questions above. You have chosen one at a time. After each one, be still and notice your first thoughts, images, and or feelings that occur without judgment. If you get through like, that's weird, stupid, impossible, note that another subself is commenting on the first subself response, not yourself. Ignore the judgment and continue. If a response merits it, ask a related question. For example, if you ask what is your job and yourself answers to keep you safe, you might ask safe from what? The idea here is to act as just you would talking to a physical person. If your subself says no, I don't want to answer any questions right now, acknowledge that with respect. Yeah, listen to yourself with empathy. That's the masculine energy. Listening to empathy, and then you nurture yourself with the feminine, okay? With the feminine energy, okay? Um, you start As you start to get responses, notice how you are feeling about this sub-self and yours. If you feel angry, if you feel anything but neutral interest, compassion, or appreciation, for example, scorn, dislike, anxiety, guilt, or distrust, another sub-self has probably blended with taken over the self. Sub-selves are alert and react fast as the environment changes. If you get judgmental feelings, pause and ask the sub-self that has taken you over and to step aside, or unblend and let you continue the interview. See your attitude towards the first sub-self shifts. If the judgmental sub-self won't step aside, shift your focus and interview him or her. Be comfortably alert or for your blocker or number, anesthetist. Activation and interrupting your interview. For example, you get no response to a question, you lose the sub-self image, or your mind goes blank. If that happens, refocus on your blocker and ask what he or she needs. As always, trust the first thoughts or feelings that occur. Without judgment, stay focused. Experience the process or dialogue with your sub-selves is your primary goal here. Not getting answers to your questions. When you feel done, or your sub-self indicates he or she wants to stop, ask two final questions. How did it feel to talk to me? And would it be willing to talk to me again? Option. Ask, is there anything you want to say, or ask before we end now. Be open to any response, as you would with a physical person. Thank you for your sub-self for the interview and say goodbye. Reconnect with your body by flexing your fingers and toes, moving your torso ahead and head, opening your eyes, breathing from your belly. Notice any thoughts and feelings about this experience without judgment. Option. Write down what you recall about the dialogue and any reactions you have about it. Recall your initial attitude about whether personality subselves are real or not, and see if anything has shifted. Notice what time it is. Often doing a sub-self interview part works, evokes a mild or deep trance, inner focus, which may cause a time distortion. For example, a short conversation may take 15 or 20 minutes in real time. What's next? The purpose of this experience is to help you to decide whether a normal personality like yours may be composed or sub-selves or not. If you feel this credible, the next step is to decide whether the concepts of true self and false self are believable. If so, then see if false self's wounds make sense, A, in general, B, in your life. The ultimate goal here for you is to decide who has been running your life, my true self or some other sub-selves. For a perspective on what it's like to be dominated by a well-meaning false self, read this comparison, this summary, and this true example when you finish here. If you suspect yourself has been disabled too much, then decide whether or not to assess yourself for self-dominance wounds by using the worksheets Self-Improvement Lesson 1. If you are sure a false self has been running your life, then decide if you care enough about yourself and any living and future kids to commit to personal wounds recovery. For example, to freeing yourself to guide and harmonize your group of talented sub-selves over time. As you confront these profound decisions, some frightened, distrustful sub-selves will probably try to deflect you from working at true recovery. Also expect the people around you to be skeptical, anxious, or critical of these ideas and your recovery, because their sub-selves are unaware, scared, or distrustful. Yes. Options. If you are or were in a committed primary relationship, assess whether your partner is or was ruled by a false self. If you are co-parent a troubled child, assess whether she or he may have accidentally inherited psychological wounds. If any of these people are significantly wounded, see this. In the last generation, many resources have appeared to help wounded people heal and live more centered, authentic, contented lives. From the 21st years of experience, I recommend the inner therapy or personality trait PARS work as an effective way to heal over time. This guidebook of this life-changing work, who's really running your life, free yourself and guard your kids. If you still doubt the reality of personality subselves, read this letter with an open mind. Otherwise, try this reality check to see where you stand. Is there someone you want to discuss this idea with and show this article to? Yes, it is. learn to everybody in the world. That's the reason why I'm giving myself the trouble to read this out loud every single lesson. Okay, I hope that this is definitely helping me, my family, and all the empaths all over the world. And I hope that we can very fast change the paradigm. Pause, breathe, and reflect. Why did you read this article? Did you get what you needed? If not, what do you need? Who's answering these questions? Your true self or someone else? So, thank you very much for being here with me. Comment, like, subscribe. It is a pleasure to read this for you. Of course, I have my primary motive. So I always, when I do something, there is always a positive outer motive. Okay. So and I'm honest about it. Thank you very much. Comment, like, subscribe. For the donations, there is a link down below. See you in the next lesson. Bye.